In this video, I'll share with you how I use modern technology to get a professional drum performance, even though I'm not a professional drummer. Before we jump in, I want to just say a big thank you to all content creators who creates all these wonderful backing tracks that you can use on Spotify and on YouTube to practice your instrument. Thank you so much. Specifically, thank you Blues Backing Tracks, because I use one of their backgrounds. Hope you're fine with that, because this is not a commercial project. It's more like educational. Thank you. Now, this is not a how-to video per se, because this might not apply to you. This is me showing you how I do it, how I use modern technology. I've been a drummer since I was like 7 years old. I could play basic rhythms when I was 7. I didn't have a drum kit, but I could like play it like that. And I've been like studying drums and thinking about drums, programming drums, teaching drummers how to play my songs all my life. I'm a big fan of great drummers like Dennis Chambers and Annika Nilles and Simon Phillips and what have you. But I didn't start playing until last year. I was 58. I didn't get a kit until I was 58. And it sounded terrible, of course, because I didn't have any technique at all. So what I do is I go to my e-kit and I play my song that I'm gonna record, and I play it over and over and over again until I get it the best performance I can possibly make. Then I have something I can work with. And to show you what I mean, I'll play a clip where I play to a background. You will hear that I understand what I'm doing, but I'm not technically sound yet. You will hear me like, oh, not really. But you will see me really trying hard to get it right. What you will hear is what you get. There's no edits whatsoever. So this is how I start. So as you can hear, it was not perfect, but probably around the best I could do at that moment. So when I'm satisfied that I get the best performance that I can make, I use that as a starting point. And now let's get into my Reaper. And this is important. What I record is not sound. I don't record any sound. I record MIDI. And MIDI is just the signals. Press this guy now. That is MIDI. It's like just signals that tell something to press this key that hard. And because I record MIDI, I can edit my performance. And now I'll show you how I do that. So here we are in Reaper, my DAW, digital audio workstation, which is my recording program. And what you can see here is my editor, my MIDI editor. And in my editor, I have pulled up my drums. So you can see my drum performance as little dashes here. And we have a little piano roll here, which I can hit a key and get what kind of instrument this is. So if I press, for example, this guy, that's a kick. So all of these guys are kicks, and so forth. My snare is on here. So all these guys are, here's my ghost notes, and here is an accented snare. And I'll show you a specific place, because here we have the beats and the bars, and this is the place in the song where I changed from hi-hat to the ride. And you can clearly hear that my first snare hit is not on time. It's out of time. So let's hear that. It's the one that I marked. It's too late. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the snare, which is this guy, the ride, the bell on the ride, and this guy is a little hi-hat hit. So I think all of these are a little bit late. So here's the crash and ride, snare. So I'm gonna move these, and to get a better feel for them, I will increase resolution like this and move them a little earlier because they are too late. Like that, and let's listen to that. To me, it's still a little bit late. So let's adjust a little bit more. Like that. See how that sounds. Now that's a lot better. Now you might wonder, what about MIDI and audio? Why aren't you recording sound, audio? Can't you do this with audio? Well, yes and no. You can do a lot nowadays with audio, but it's much trickier. MIDI is easier because it's decoupled from the sound. And as I showed you, you can move things around. You can do that with sound as well. But let's look at the editor. All these bars, what are those? They are the velocity. That is how hard you press the key. So you can see that when I'm hitting those notes, is ride, it's like full blast. And this snare, very hard but not full force. And you can see at each hit has a velocity, how hard I hit. So not only can I move things around, I can also adjust. Oh, I hit those ghost notes a little bit too hard. Let's look at those ghost notes. I can select them. These are ghost notes. And if they sound like I hit them too hard or too soft, well, let's move them. And they are louder or softer. And this still is just the signals that trigger the sounds. Let me make myself a little bigger, because I'm gonna tell you the biggest thing ever. Like, MIDI is the thing, because not only can you move things around and increase and decrease the velocities, you can also change a snare hit to a tom hit. And the greatest thing, you don't have to decide what sounds you're gonna use. You can like hook up your Superior Drummer Kit 1 or Kit 2 or whatever you have in your arsenal in your computer and change out the snare and change the toms, because MIDI is just signals. So that's the big thing. So this is how I work to get professional performances. Even though I'm not a professional drummer, I record the best that I can and I edit my MIDI, and I am really picky about my editing. Most of my stuff is aligned to a grid, so I know I can see graphically if a snare hit is out of time. I can go in and I can move it just a little. There is one thing more we need to talk about, and that is quantize and quantizing. I personally never ever use quantize. I'm not saying it's bad or evil or anything. Well, maybe I am. No, strike that. But I don't use it ever, because to me it ruins the performance. It ruins the feel. It ruins everything. And I'll show you what Quantize is and what it does. So what I did here, I just painted in some notes, like a kick here and like a snare there, and I just painted some stuff. And here I have a grid. In this song we just heard, there is no grid because it's just a background and I have no idea what tempo it is. It's not aligned to any grid. Let's assume that we have a song which is aligned, which is mostly the case when you work with your own stuff. It's aligned to a grid. So let's listen to this, which will sound totally ridiculous because I just painted some notes. Ridiculous, right? Quantizing is telling the computer to move every note to the nearest grid line. And you can, of course, adjust what that line should be. Should it be a triplet? Should it be a 16 or an 8 note or whatever? I'm going to tell it to move everything to the nearest 8 note. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all the notes and I'm going to press Q. So let's see what happens here. Look at the notes. Whoops. They all changed. They all moved to the nearest 8 note. And now listen back. Still ridiculous, but now you can hear it's aligned to the beat. And when I make my music, I will never, ever use this function, because whatever feeling is in there is totally ruined. Now, with that said, there are more intelligent ways to use Quantize. You can tell your recording program, your DAW, to quantize only notes that are far from the beat and move them with a certain percentage toward the beat. I don't do that. I never ever do that. And why? Because it ruins the feel. It sounds computerized. It doesn't sound like a performance anymore. I rather have these small nuances, these small imperfections that make it sound like a performance. I want it to sound like a performance. For it to sound like a performance, there has to be imperfections. There have to be imperfections in there. That's how you get the groove, and that's how you get the feel. So Quantize is evil? No, it's not evil, but I never ever use it. So my friends, how do you do it? How do you get professional sounding drum performances? In another video, I'll talk about how you mix drums and make them sound professional. And as usual, if you like my content, if you enjoy what I do, please hit those bells and buttons and whistles below. I really would appreciate it. And thank you so much for watching.